interestongold.com/David. That's interestongold.com/David.
This portion of the upcoming amazing broadcast is brought to you by the law firm of Catania & Catania, award-winning personal injury, auto, and motorcycle accident attorneys, serving Tampa Bay families for over 28 years.
From the heart of Central Florida, you're listening to the most electrifying show in media, A Neighbor's Choice. And welcome back to the program. I'm your host, David Gronowski. So glad to be with you all once again across Central Florida, from Orlando to the Space Coast. Maybe you're listening on 93.1 FM. Welcome. We welcome you. We've just learned Nielsen ratings showing anywhere from 40 to 51% of our audience is between 25 and 35. That's remarkable. Nobody's got that in FM or AM radio for this kind of program format. It's a new kind of program, a new kind of format. Happy to have you on 540 AM, or maybe you're joining us on 1040 AM across Tampa Bay, Sarasota, Clearwater, St. Pete, Brandon, Plant City, wherever you're coming from. We're enjoying you being a part of our time together as we explore the news. And as you always know, you can visit our website, aneighborschoice.com. That's the letter A, neighborschoice.com, or email us, hello@aneighborschoice.com. That's hello@aneighborschoice.com if you want to stay in touch with something that you heard about on the program, or a guest that you want to hear more from, or anything like that. Happy to be that connecting central hub for our growing audience around the world, too. We welcome you if you're listening to our podcast. Make sure you review and share it wherever you're listening. Let your friends know that this is a special kind of program. There's nothing else like it. And we just heard the wonderful news that Senator Kamala Harris has become the vice presidential pick in the sweepstakes, the nice, exciting contest for our affections, which is the political election of our presidents. Isn't it so exciting to think? I mean, I think this has fired me up, because I thought, I think Kamala Harris has not really gone very favorably with the public. I mean, I think they saw what she was like. They saw that she was inauthentic. They saw that she was an establishment mouthpiece, and that's why she's a favorite of Hillary Clinton's this whole time. And so I don't think the public, including the Democratic primary base, really had much interest in what Kamala Harris offered. And so it's just amazing to see the hubris of the old warmongering Democratic Party establishment try once again to force feed us another lie based on, oh, well, look, she's an immigrant and she's a person of color. Therefore, it doesn't matter that she spent her entire career locking up immigrants and people of color and going along with the perpetuation of the occupation of people of color around the world. That doesn't matter because her identity exempts that. And they think that we're that dumb. They think that the average voter and the average person in the public is like, oh my goodness, I can buy into this fantasy. No one buys it. It's so dumb. It's so transparent. We know that she's a warmonger. We know that she's a corporatist, just like Biden. And so we know that this is exactly what we're going to get. We were going to get the perpetuation of the status quo. We're going to get the same old, the same slop, the same narrative. And it's not going to do anything for anybody. And I don't think the voters are going to be, tricked by that. I think that when you look at Kamala Harris locking people up and laughing about it, locking people up for nonviolent crimes and laughing about it, versus Trump's First Step Act that actually is freeing people who should have been out a long time ago for ridiculous, onerous, almost sometimes life sentences for nonviolent, victimless choices. The contrast of hypocrisy couldn't be more clear. And if that's the candidates that we're going to have settle the future here in this electoral contest. that's not going to be something that people are going to buy. I think that they've overplayed their hand and their hubris here. Now, if they went with something more bold, I mean, I don't think it's bold in my picture, right? But, if they went with Elizabeth Warren or someone who's got a brand closer to being, different and something new, I don't think it's new. I'm just telling you the brand there, right? That might have, shaken things up a bit. But they didn't. They went for someone who is so establishment, so in favor of perpetuating bank powers and corporations, multinational corporations, pillaging the people's wages, and multinational corporations making money off of our occupation of people of color overseas. It's just terrible. Kamala Harris. What a joke. It's so sad. But, I think this is a great thing. I'm happy about this because it just shows you how out of touch the old media and the old political world is, right? It shows you how out of touch. They think that the public's going to be, oh my goodness, identity politics trumps everything. No, your record, your character, what you stand for. People can see through that. And I don't think they're going to buy it. I can criticize Trump about a lot of things, but at least he hasn't started a new war that I'm aware of. He's perpetuated wars, but I think with Biden and Kamala Harris, you would see more wars expanded. That's what Hillary Clinton wanted. She wanted to have a no-fly zone over Syria. She wanted to start a potential war with Russia because Russia didn't like her stupid plastic reset button. She wanted to have all kinds of more increased presence in Syria. Terrible, terrible carnage that would have brought. And, Trump, to his credit, has not escalated things in Syria. And I disagree very much so with his involvement in Yemen, but there wasn't troops on the ground, American, that I'm aware of. And there probably is some, I don't know, there's always foreign policy experts who can go deeper into the minutia of these foreign adventures. But I just think that people are really fed up with the whole charade. The whole idea that, well, if someone is their identity is a female and their identity is an immigrant and their identity is a person of color like Kamala Harris, therefore she's allowed to lock up people of color for nonviolent crimes. And I'm saying their own words at them, right? I don't like using these politically correct words because I think it artificially divides people. We're all one human race, and we're united in the personhood revolution of Jesus. Never forget that. But nevertheless, I'm using their TV corporatist language to show you that their system is full of garbage and full of lies and full of deception and full of obvious, stinky bigotry. And they think that the public is so low information, so gullible, that they will churn out young voters who want resistance to vote for a person like Biden and Kamala Harris, who have done more things, have done more in their career together to lock up people who are poor for nonviolent choices. That's awful. And that creates PTSD, to be traumatized. Think about children snatched and ripped apart from bombs overseas. Now think about children here at home, snatched away from their mothers, their young mothers, because the mother is put into a cage because of Biden and Kamala Harris and their friends. They don't say apologies to that. They don't do anything. They just mouth little rhetoric. Oh, yeah, I'm against that stuff now. But they're not going to do anything. They're just lying through their teeth. And they're hoping and praying to their state gods that we're gullible to buy it. That we're really going to buy that slop. That sloppy, nasty, stinky, outdated television series called Politics. And we're not buying it anymore. We see through it. Media is decentralizing. That's why you're listening to this show right now. That's why in broadcast media and online, you have a program like A Neighbor's Choice, calling it like it is, about criminal justice, about our foreign policy, about our economy, about our liberties in a way that you wouldn't even dream of just a few years ago was even possible. It's because the old oligarchy-based media that you only got 3 stations or 5 stations and 3 newspapers, this limited monopoly way of thinking is falling apart. Wherever we look, it's falling apart. And sure, it's propped up by some billionaires, but that is falling apart too. Because you can throw, as we saw with Michael Bloomberg, you can throw $1 billion and all you get is one, American Samoa or whatever it was that he won. So money is not the real key to winning the future. You know what's the key? The truth. That's the key to the future. How novel, how interesting. Back in just a moment, live on A Neighbor's Choice.
A lawsuit is not something that anyone looks forward to. It's a stressful process. There are attorneys in Tampa Bay that keep clients well informed, creating less stress. That law firm is CAN-DO. Personal injury law is defended with full disclosure. There is no guessing game. If it's an auto accident, medical malpractice, nursing home negligence, unsafe working conditions, or motorcycle accidents, the law firm of CAN-DO will handle the process worry-free from start to finish. Many victims don't realize they have a claim for their loss until they talk to CAN-DO. They only represent private individuals and treat every case as if it's going to trial. Putting families first is more than just a slogan. It's their way of practicing law. It's a commitment to you. Remember, they don't get paid if you don't get paid. So go to CAN-DO.com. Over 28 years in practice. CAN-DO, personal injury, auto, and motorcycle accident attorneys. CAN-DO, putting families first.
Office Tampa. Not attorney spokeswoman.
Not ready to go to your favorite seafood restaurant? Get the highest quality fish for less, delivered straight to your door by Fast Fresh Seafood. Order our fresh hot snapper, grouper, mahi, and more. They're boneless, skinless, flash frozen the same day and individually vacuum wrapped. Pick the size filet you want, the amount you want, and checkout's easy at fastfreshseafood.com. The best thing, every fish is on sale. Fastfreshseafood.com. Caught fresh for you, delivered straight to you. Stay home and stay safe.
I'm attorney Young Kim. The financial problems caused by the coronavirus nightmare are not going away anytime soon. If you are behind on your credit card or mortgage payments, or bill collectors are harassing you, there are ways to get them off your back and legally wipe the slate clean. Call Consumer Law Attorneys at 888-99-FRESH for a free consultation. Learn how we can stop the bank and collection companies and help people in debt get a fresh start. Call 888-99-FRESH 37374. Main office, St. Petersburg.
Let's face it, these are stressful times. New routines, the constant bombardment of bad news, and trying to keep you and your family safe all the time. It's Frank for Center for Men's Health. During these stressful times, your mood is so critical, and nothing's more important to a guy's mood than testosterone. The single greatest issue for guys with low T is mood, and the single greatest change for men that get low T care is a greatly improved mood. Many are grumpy when they start, and most can't believe how much their mood improves once they get treated. And everything improves once your mood improves. Feel the difference C4MH.com can make in your life. I've been a patient of C4MH.com for a couple of years, and recently I've lost 20 pounds because now I have the energy to work out from home. And that'll put you in a good mood too. C4MH.com's express treatment plan is convenient, affordable, and above all, safe. And with locations all up and down West Florida, there's one near you right now. Find out more. Go to C4MH.com.
So if you are one of those cosplayers in Antifa, where you dress up like a Foot Clan soldier from the Ninja Turtles movie from the 80s and 90s, You got to be weeping right now because you've been spending your whole time doing the work of Viva la Resistance. Yeah, woo, tough. Fantasizing that you're a part of some kind of French Revolution when all you were was a part of a Mick Woke joke. Bunch of corporatism, doing the bidding of people laughing all the way to the bank like Biden and Kamala Harris, who are going to do the bidding of big pharma, big banks, big industrial food corporations that make a lot of garbage food, doing the bidding of big foreign policy interests, making $1 trillion a year, or we're spending $1 trillion a year, and they're making a lot of that as profit. Evil stuff. And then whenever Trump tries to pull out some troops out of Afghanistan, the Antifa bigots on Twitter come out and say, oh no, Trump, you're with Putin. Why? Because TV told me so. Oh, okay. Wow, genius. Genius people. Maybe go back and get another degree from your six-figure corporate communist professors. Maybe they teach you logic. I don't know. They wouldn't do a good job with that. So just stay out of debt. Stay out of that garbage. But that's what you see, folks, if you're part of the Antifa, Viva la McWoke resistance. That you guys have been doing the bidding of people like Joe Biden and Kamala Harris that just lock people up who are poor, people of color, ripping young mothers away from their kids for nonviolent, victimless choices. These guys have made their whole power off of that. And rest assured that Kamala Harris is the favored pick of the Queen of Darkness herself, Hillary Clinton, who loves war. She laughed and cackled as she went on a mafia hit against her former ally, Gaddafi, in Libya, and turned that place. And the guy wasn't a saint, obviously. All of the former clients of the American foreign policy machine are never saints, of course. But they build him up, and then they tear him down when he becomes in their way. And so you're going to go vote. The fake McWoke resistance literally thinks, oh, we're so self-righteous. We are so for the victims. And you're going to go vote and support Biden and Harris, who together have locked up more people probably than anybody who's ever run for American politics in the history of this country for president. That is sad. You got to be having a mess right now. But you don't have to stay in that cognitive dissonance. Just let go. Let go of the fantasy of politics that you can elect gods to run your life. Here's a little news flash for you. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are not going to save you from coronavirus. Oh, can you believe it? They're not going to save you. Neither is Trump, for that matter. But since 99% of the media is going to act as a PR firm for Biden and Harris, these stinky corporatist ideas that they represent, then I'm going to make a special effort to let the public know, especially our growing young audience that are in my generation who are joining us on our podcast around the world, joining us on FM and AM. We're going to continue to grow this community, and we're going to continue to tell the truth, that the human person is sacred. It's a very simple message. The human person is sacred, and that Kamala Harris and Joe Biden have no right to drop a single bomb on a person of color overseas like they want to keep doing. They don't have any right to do that. Nobody and here's the thing. Nobody in conservative Inc. media is even really saying this, except for, you got like Tucker Carlson's he's good on this issue, but there's very, very few people in conservative Inc. media that really stands up against the war machine represented by Biden, Harris, Clinton, Obama. And it's because they too often shill for war. But to be truly conservative, or to be truly independent, or to be truly moderate, right? To be truly progressive for that matter, all of those different categories people identify themselves by, you cannot be truly any of those things and be for the occupation of people of color overseas. So the old stinky media, the New York Times, trying to preen and act like they are the defenders of the vulnerable. They are the defenders of the victims of our criminal justice system. They've done the old switcheroo once again. Now they're going to shill for, using all the pretty language they can muster, to try to convince you to perpetuate the bombing and occupation of various races around the world and the mass incarceration of various people in your community. That's what they want you to do. They're going to do everything they can to sell you on that. And they will do everything they can to distract you with surface identity politics. That's why I reject it completely. And you should too. Regardless of who you are, I think you should reject identity politics at every level. Because human beings are made in the image of God. But we're choosing to say that our image is in the image of the state. And the state does not respect human life. If there's one thing we can see by the record of bipartisanship coming out of the swamp, it's that they do not respect human life. Life is expendable. If someone is born, there is a consensus in D.C. that if that child is not wanted, that life is expendable. And that is sad, and that's a shame, and we got to repent of that. If someone's in a country that Biden's masters and Kamala Harris's masters tell him he needs to bomb, if you're a kid in there, too bad, your life's expendable. That's how these folks think. Now, of course, they justify it. They'll say, we're doing everything we can not to hit civilians. But that's just how they lie to themselves to assuage whatever flicker of conscience is still there. It's all window dressing for empire. And if you're one of those little Antifa Foot Clan soldiers imitating Ninja Turtle ninjas that you see from the 90s, putting on your little outfit, oh, I'm so cool, I'm French Revolution. No, you're not. You're a joke. You're shilling for stuff that giant corporations like Amazon pay for. It's stupid. How dumb could you possibly be if to really believe you're part of a revolution? And you're on the side of the giant, biggest corporations in the world. I mean, we got to be honest about this, folks. I know that the Antifa kids are not that ignorant. They're just playing a fantasy. They want real justice. And look, there's a lot of common ground. We need to end victimless crimes. But you're not going to end them by voting for the master of victimless crime laws like Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. You're not going to end a single act of injustice playing into that fantasy. Doesn't work. But I'll tell you how you do what's right. Listen into our next segment. Our next segment, in partnership with the CAN-DO Clemency Foundation, which is an excellent organization. I've been highlighting their work, and we're going to continue to highlight their work in a more concerted effort. With Amy Povah, the founder, and her friends coming up next. If you're listening and you're saying, you know what, I'm fed up, I'm tired of the Biden Harrises of the world trying to draw me into their perpetuation of this mass incarceration state. Draw me into this mass incarceration, mass bombing state. You know what? You want to tune in to our next segment with Amy Povah, good friend of mine, founder of the CAN-DO Clemency Foundation, because we're going to give you the real look at our justice system. Not the McWoke crap. Not that garbage. The real look at human beings in harm's way. That's what you get on A Neighbor's Choice. We'll be back in just a moment.
There is all kinds of lunacy going on of 2020. Weekdays 11 to 2. I'm just so fed up with these Democrats. It's unbelievable. Get it straight from Chris Pine. They're so hypocritical. It makes me sick. It's the Chris Pine Show. This has just got me going on. And the left is waging war against the police in the United States. Telling it like it is. We should be thanked profusely for getting to the point. You're a voice of reason and see of idiot. The Chris Pine Show. Weekdays 11 to 2. News Talk 1040 WHPO.
Campaign, Joe Biden promised that if he became the Democratic presidential nominee, he would select a woman as his running mate. Well, today, the former vice president, who is now the party's presumptive nominee, made good on that promise and announced that
he selected Kamala Harris. ABC senior congressional correspondent Mary Bruce with more on the California senator, who is now the first woman of color to join a major party ticket.
They were former rivals not that long ago. Kamala Harris, of course, took Biden to task for his record working with segregationist senators to oppose school busing policies in the 1970s. It was an attack at the time that Biden's wife, Dr. Jill Biden, described as a punch to the gut. Clearly, that is water under the bridge.
Harris is expected to travel to Delaware, where she's going to join Biden in his home state to make their first joint appearance tomorrow in Wilmington, and then it's just a matter of days to the Democratic National Convention. Tanya Albany, ABC News.
Welcome back to A Neighbor's Choice. I'm David Gronowski, and now we're going to take a real look at the heart of the people's justice system today and what needs to change. And joining us now is a good friend of my program. She's the founder of the CAN-DO Clemency Foundation, which we've talked about a lot, but they're at the tip of the spear of helping reform the real bad laws and actions going on in our justice system today. We have the founder of CAN-DO Clemency, Amy Povah. How you doing?
Thank you, David. I'm doing great, and I'm so excited to be pairing with A Neighbor's Choice so we can bring more voices on, and really looking forward to today's show.
Yeah, it's great to have you with us. I'm so excited for this, and we also have a friend of you and someone who is a fighter for justice, Jan Schneiderman, with us. How you doing, Jan?
Hi, thank you, David. Thank you for giving a voice to this very important cause. We appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate what you are doing, too, because Amy's told me a lot of great things about you. So, first of all, I want to get into a prison that we talk about on this program a lot. We reach all of Central Florida, but we have Coleman Prison, which has been talked about a lot. And I want to give people at home or in their car right now in Tampa, Orlando, wherever, a picture inside the prison right now, given the fact there are women over there. Some are elderly, some are immunocompromised, some of them are young mothers, and various types of situations while a pandemic rages and there's no ability to have proper hygiene or social distancing. Let's start with Amy. Can you set this table for us so that we can get an understanding of what's happening in Coleman Prison?
Certainly, David. Thank you. Yes, we communicate with a lot of women who are currently housed at the Women's Coleman Camp, and we also have advocated and worked closely with numerous women who were at Coleman who are now on home confinement, like Shalana McFarland, Shanita McKnight, Patricia Cooney used to be there. So we're in communications with a lot of women who have firsthand experience and know what these poor women are going through. Unfortunately, it seems like the prison is no longer putting women on home confinement when at a time when the COVID-19 virus has taken off there like a wildfire. And one lady recently died. Her first name is a little hard to pronounce, Sarifa, I think, Johnson, which Jan knows more about. And Jan has been helping a very dear friend of hers, Laz Ordaz, with her compassionate release. So I'd like for Jan to give us her account of what's going on there in Coleman and this battle to try to get a very dear friend of hers home, Laz Ordaz, who's in jeopardy. A lot of the women are now positive. And Jan, if you would, just go ahead and explain everything that bring us up to date with regard to Coleman.
And what's going on. And one thing I'll say to both of you is that if this segment aired yesterday, we'd be having a different conversation. But things have changed in the last 24 hours in that just the real thumbnail Reader's Digest version of the way the Coleman camp is, the women in Coleman are only housed at the camp. There are 4 units, F1, F2, F3, F4. F1 are the people who are negative. F2 are the people who are getting ready to go home and are being quarantined. That unit really usually houses 80 people, but there's only 6 people in that unit, which means all the rest of the women have to be stuffed in to the other 3 units. F1 is negative. So all the people in the compound that were sick were put into F2 and F3. I'm sorry, F3 and F4. Now, today, they were told they received a visit in F3 and F4. These are women who have tested positive for COVID once, if not twice, and have not yet received negative tests. And they were told today that they were being sent back to work without getting negative tests. About 24 people were sent to the kitchen to cook for the rest of the compound. These are women, I stress, that may or may not still be positive, but they're now cooking for the entire camp. That includes the people who are negative in F1 and the people who are going home in F2. And they were told that they don't have to be tested again because the CDC doesn't require it. And oh, by the way, they got their first hot breakfast today since April 1st.
My goodness. Yeah.
Okay, and by sheer coincidence, don't you know, that the central office is coming today or tomorrow to pay a visit to Coleman Camp and to see what's going on. So now all of a sudden, these women who have been locked down since the middle of March can't go to commissary, can't go out and get fresh air, can't do anything, of all of a sudden being sent back to work in the kitchen and Unicor, which is a money-making proposition, Prison Industries, and they were actually told today, this is a working camp, not a sleeping camp. As if these women have been enjoying lying about the unit, being locked in with people who are infected. Like somehow they were on vacation and the vacation is over. I mean, the insult and the audacity of putting it to these women that way is just astounding.
And don't these people have mothers? Don't they have sisters at home that they can relate to? To treat women in this way is totally unbecoming of a civilized society.
You know something? There's no compassion. There's no empathy. You know, and I could tell you from experience, when you make a serious complaint to somebody in the BOP, the response you very often get is, well, next time don't come to prison. Like you chose the wrong vacation spot. You know, next time don't go to this club, man. Go to the other one. I mean, that's their reaction. And all of them, most of them, and Amy, you could correct me if I'm wrong, look at inmates and feel that would not be me. That could never be me. That can never be anybody in my family. And when the table turns and they're there, boy, do they scream bloody murder. But they don't see it, David. There's this thing called compassionate release, and there's no compassion.
And they sound like hypocrites. They sound like Pharisees to me, self-righteous, you know. But I want to zero in on the story of your friend Laz Ordaz. I believe I've had her on the program, right, Amy? I think it's been a while, maybe a year or so ago. I remember having her call into the show.
I don't think she's been on the program, but
Go ahead.
I don't think she's been on the program, but maybe she was referenced, right, Amy. Yeah. I don't know.
Right, yeah. But before we go into Laz, just very briefly, I want the listeners to understand that the women, not just recently, but in the past, before the virus infected their units, they were told that they had to go to work over at the men's facility where there were positive cases, and the women did not want to go. They normally don't ever have to do that, but apparently staff doesn't want to be around positive cases, and the women wouldn't interact with the men. I don't mean that, but they were having to clean up common areas, is my understanding. And if the women said no, that means they get an incident report, and they were threatened with having to go to the SHU, segregated housing unit, which is often referred to as the hole in movies and stuff, and that would crush any opportunity for them to prevail on a compassionate release or home confinement, because if you have an incident report, you're immediately disqualified for that opportunity. Mm-hmm. And speaking of which, Laz, why don't you explain, Jan, whether Laz was one of the women who had to work, and also when she found out that she was positive?
Okay, well, Laz, I mean, I think they do periodically send women up to the other facilities to work. Every penitentiary has a working camp because the men or the people in the penitentiary aren't allowed to have free roaming rights, basically. So Laz often went to the visiting room in the low and the medium to do the floors or whatever. And she would always volunteer to do that. And like Amy said, and she might not know the timeline, but my understanding is the first week in June when the virus was running rampant, the women were being mandated to go to the 4 other facilities at Coleman. And since the Coleman camp doesn't have a special housing unit, they were threatened to go to the county jail. Mm-hmm. And once you go to the county jail, then I think they probably send you to a higher security facility. So, and it's absolutely correct what Amy said also, is that if you have an incident report, you're no longer eligible for compassionate release because you don't have clear conduct for 12 months, which is what is required. Right. Now, Laz, my friend, has worked up at the camp numerous times, and she was tested, I guess the first time maybe about 3 weeks ago, and they didn't tell these women they were positive. They didn't give them a copy of the test results. They just moved them to another unit. So they were sort of left to read the tea leaves. Oh, I'm being moved out of this unit to another unit. I guess I'm positive. It wasn't until this past week that anyone actually, and this is a good 3 or 4 weeks later, that they were actually told the words, yes, you are positive for COVID. Wow. And they put all these women together, and some of them get better, and they stay in the unit where everybody else is sick, and that's how, obviously, how cross-contamination takes place. And even the officers who have health-compromised issues, breathing issues, whatever, who don't want to go inside, to work inside any of these units, are being given alternative assignments outside, to work outside, patrol the outside fence, or to walk the compound. So they're given the option not to be exposed, but they're not giving the inmates the same option. They're just forcing them to go interact in places that are clearly contaminated. And it is only today that signs were put up in the units that said, you must wear a mask, social distancing, and only because the central office is coming. None of these precautions. Yeah, we experienced that, David, time and time again while I was incarcerated, where if anybody was going to tour, especially the director of the BOP, we would be working nonstop, even at nighttime, 24 hours for weeks in advance, planting flowers, waxing floors that are already painting, gardening, absolutely. Yeah, painting, taking down signs if something was out of order, like showers. And so it doesn't surprise me that they ordered the women back to work so that when Central comes, they probably don't even want Central to know the real numbers of the positive cases. As Jan knows, they're not reflected accurately on the BOP website as to how many positive cases there are. So it's a ruse, and they engage in creating a fraudulent image, especially when anyone is touring the prison. And David, let me just say that at the very least, the Federal Bureau of Prisons is being economical with the truth. Okay, they are, statistics lie, but liars have to put up the statistics. And it's a very unfortunate situation because people on the outside are not knowing what the real numbers are. And the worst part of that, David, is that when the prosecutors decide who's in jeopardy, when these compassionate release motions come to the courts and the prosecutors look at them to determine if somebody is truly in danger of being sick, they look at the numbers that are posted on the BOP site. So up until very recently, Coleman only posted 11 or 12 positive cases, and at the same time they posted those 11 or 12 positive cases, I had a written list in my hand provided to me by several women, not just one, several people who were emailing me, provided me with a list of 126 positive cases. People that were in those two units I told you, F3 and F4. But the BOP site only said 11. So the prosecutors look at these cases and say, 200 women, 11 cases, they're managing it very well. We don't have to worry about these women. They're going to be okay. Wow. But 126 or 176 out of 200, that's a different story, David.
Yeah. There's a lot of shenanigans
and nobody
going
knows
on.
That story.
Yeah, I really appreciate you sharing this information, Jan Schneiderman. We're going to continue to follow this story. And thank you for joining us. And we'll continue in just a moment live on A Neighbor's Choice. Don't miss it.
David Vernowski here. You probably know that it's good to own some gold. Well, I want to tell you about Monetary Metals, a company started by my frequent guest, Keith Wiener. The conventional way to own gold is to buy coins at high cost and hide them at home, or pay annual fees to store them in a vault, where they just sit there. Monetary Metals is different. With Monetary Metals, we'll buy gold just above spot and then put it to work so that you're earning interest, paid out not in dollars, but in more ounces of gold. To top it off, there are zero vault fees. So stop having your metal just sit there. Upgrade to Monetary Metals today and start earning interest on it. Upgrade at interestongold.com/David. That's interestongold.com/David.
For over 18 years, I've enjoyed an AB rating 5.0 out of 5.0 from Melville. I received this from my fellow lawyers and judges. If you've been injured, call Diaco Law at 888-SOS-FIRM. At Diaco Law, we will take your call. Medical malpractice or wrongful death? Call SOS. Call Diaco Law at 888-SOS-FIRM for a free injury case evaluation. And remember, there's no fees or costs unless we win. At Diaco Law, we will take your call. Do not stop taking a prescribed medication without first consulting your doctor. Discontinue without your doctor's advice can result in injury or death. Attention Zantac users. The FDA requested that manufacturers pull Zantac and products containing ranitidine off the market, limiting exposure to unacceptable levels of a cancer-causing agent. If you or a loved one is diagnosed with cancer after regular use of Zantac or ranitidine products, you may be entitled to financial compensation. Call Action Legal Group now for a free consultation. Call 866-321-1729. That's 866-321-1729.
New guidelines show it's relatively safe for women with epilepsy to become pregnant, but caution must be taken. The guidelines from the American Academy of Neurology and American Epilepsy Society recommend that women with epilepsy avoid taking the seizure drug valproate during pregnancy, since the drug can cause birth defects. Overall, though, these guidelines should be very reassuring, since they show epilepsy does not substantially increase a woman's risk of having a cesarean section, late pregnancy bleeding, or premature labor. Also, if a woman is seizure-free for 9 months before she becomes pregnant, it's likely she will not have any seizures during pregnancy. It is estimated about 500,000 women with epilepsy in the U.S. are of childbearing age, and that 3 to 5 out of every 1,000 births are to women with epilepsy. For more information on these guidelines from the American Academy of Neurology, visit thebrainmatters.org. That's thebrainmatters.org. New guidelines show it's relatively safe for women with epilepsy to become pregnant, but it's recommended they avoid the seizure drug valproate, since the drug can cause birth defects. For more information on these guidelines from the American Academy of Neurology and American Epilepsy Society, visit thebrainmatters.org.
Welcome back to A Neighbor's Choice. We're live across WFLA Orlando, 93.1 FM and 540 AM. Across iHeartRadio, we are happy to have you on our app, waiting to continue the journey of truth and the journey of freedom. That's what we're all about on this program. Our website, aneighborschoice.com. You can also catch us on podcasts wherever podcasts are found. and also WHBO 1040 Tampa Bay, St. Pete, Clearwater. We welcome you all. And we're joined by our friend, Amy Povah, founder of CAN-DO Clemency, which you can visit at CAN-DO-Clemency.com. That's CAN-DO-Clemency.com. They're the tip of the spear for justice through clemency and various other compassionate release and other programs. Also with us now is a friend of Amy and a friend of Freedom and Justice, which we always like to talk about on this program. We have Janet Lee. How you doing, Janet?
I'm doing good, thanks. How are you?
It's great to hear from you. I'm doing well. And we have Amy Povah as well. And she's telling me about a project that you've been really spearheading, which is exciting to me. It's something that is really something that I'm excited about, a National Day for Freedom and Justice. Very interesting. Can you tell me a little bit about this?
Sure, yeah. We're doing as you said, National Day for Freedom and Justice. I was actually approached by an inmate. His name is Tracy Fagan, and he's in federal in Atlanta, and he said, you know, I really want to do a National Day, and I want this to help every person who is affected by the criminal justice system. And he asked me if it was something that I would kind of put together for him. And so, of course, I said yes, this is right up my alley. But, you know, it's just been amazing, the response that we're getting from all over the United States and even other countries.
Yeah, I see it on Facebook here. I just like the page, National Day of Freedom and Justice Rally, which is August 22nd at 3 Eastern, to assemble in every state on the same day, at the same time, to rally for freedom and justice for the incarcerated. Unified ringing of bells across the land at 4 p.m. Very interesting. Amy, how did you get involved in this?
Well, first, we started advocating for Tracy Fagan's clemency. He connected with my vice president, Enrica Caldwell, and she wanted for us to take Tracy's case on board. CAN-DO stands for Clemency for All Nonviolent Drug Offenders. And so we're strongly advocating for his clemency at this time. And then Janet, who also knows Tracy, as she just explained, came literally onto the scene like a bulldozer. She's amazing. And Tracy also started posting. He can't post from prison, but he has somebody who assists with his Facebook page. And I was just taken aback by the incredible graphics that they started posting, videos, and Janet just dazzled me. And I really at first thought, well, that's a pretty big undertaking to try to get a national day where everybody from every state gathers, and she can explain, but she also got 4 other countries involved, and she's almost done this effortlessly. I know other people who've tried, and it's just such a huge undertaking that they really couldn't pull it off. So I'd love for Janet to explain more, but our common thread is Tracy Fagan. He's serving time for, like so many people, a conspiracy charge in a drug case, nonviolent. So as you like to say, David, victimless crimes, I just don't even think there should be any such thing as victimless crimes. And he's served 13 years on a life sentence. He's an amazing young man. And Janet, please explain exactly what's going to happen on August 22nd.
Okay, so what we're doing on August the 22nd is we have actually staggered the time so that we can allow all the states across the United States to participate in the ringing of the bells at the same exact time across the land. We're also doing the same thing with other countries. I spoke to a lady in London today, and we were coordinating the time so she would know, make sure that she's awake during the time that we're going to be doing this. And so the ringing of the bells is really something that's near and dear, and it was something that Tracy thought of himself. I thought it was ingenious. It is to honor and support people who are currently behind the walls, and it's also a semblance of freedom and justice for them. And so it's real exciting. It's just, like I said, the response has been amazing. I get phone calls all hours of the night, from different locations, different time zones, and this and that. And just, this is something that the people want. Mm-hmm. They want to do something like this. And so it really has not been, a huge ordeal for me to try and find people to get on board because everybody's so willing.
How can people who are listening get involved and participate? Is there a Facebook page? Is there a website? Tell people that want to participate how they can get involved.
Okay, sure. There is a Facebook page. It's called the National Day of Freedom and Justice. There's also a website. It's freedomandjustice.info. And I also have a phone number that's set up for this event. They can call or text 540-958-1847.
Can you say that number one more time, Janet?
540-958-1847.
Well, very good. And freedomandjustice.info is the website. I've seen the hashtag freedomandjustice. If you're active on Facebook or Twitter, that's a great way to keep the conversation going and the message spreading. I think that's a great idea. Jesus says in the Gospel of Matthew that those who have visited the prisoner have visited Jesus himself. And I think that we need to keep that in mind, that it's, he also says, leave the 99 and go after the one who has been rejected, the one who has been forgotten. Mm-hmm. And so many men and women in this country have been treated like they don't exist and treated subhuman. And we need to lift them up at this moment, especially, if they're in there for nonviolent victimless crimes, meaning basically a law that shouldn't even be on the books, in my opinion. We've got people who are Amish farmers locked up for selling raw milk and selling on, certain oat, soap. I mean, come on. This is an indictment on our country, especially when 70% of us say that we're Christian. So, Janet, how did you get so excited and fired up about the cause of criminal justice? I think it's very, very good to hear your passion.
Well, actually, I started this 24 years ago when my son, at age 12, became a victim of the criminal justice system and was sent to a juvenile prison. Wow. And so some really bad things happened. Once they're in the juvenile system, it tends to be a school-to-prison pipeline. Once they get in the system, it's very hard to get them out. And so my passion has been long going for a long, long time. And then I just met so many other people, that the system is just treated so unfairly.
Wow. Well, I can tell your passion is very strong, and it's you can show because you've got a real skin in the game. You've seen your own son affected and your own family affected by this wicked system. And thank you once again, Amy, for bringing this wonderful story about the National Day of Freedom and Justice, freedomandjustice.info. Amy, any parting words as we continue?
Well, only that Janet has organized several events outside of federal prisons. And so if you have a loved one who's in a federal prison and you want to participate, please, I encourage you to reach out to her, and she can also inform and educate people of existing rallies that they can attend. So people may not even know that there's going to be a rally in their city. And so I strongly encourage everybody to reach out to Janet and participate.
Well, very good, folks. It's been wonderful hearing from you. CAN-DOClemency.com. We'll be back soon. I'm David Gronowski.
Your home for news, talk, and information. 1040 WHBO Pinellas Park. Tampa Bay's all news.